is like deja vu. We just did this, didn't we? We got Mac over there. He's still up. We got Mason. I think he's still awake behind me. We are headed to another hockey tournament in Washington, D.C. Rough road. I did tell you guys in the last video that I didn't want to go to Washington, D.C. and there's a big reason why. So I'm going to take a nap. We got up at 4 this morning. Now it's 6 and we're on our way. And Mason's first game starts at around 4 o'clock. So we'll take a nap. And when I come back, I'm going to tell you the reason why I don't want to go to Washington. Well, I'm back. I didn't take a nap. I want to stay awake to help Buddy stay awake. But I think he's well rested. And the boys are sleeping in the back. So I told you that I'd let you know why I didn't want to go to Washington, and let's talk about that. Years ago, I don't know, it's not quite 10 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, Kaylee, our youngest, gave Buddy a trip to Washington, D.C. for Christmas, and it was for, I don't know, 3 nights, 4 days trip, and we happened to have our good friends, their son was based in Washington, D.C., and he was getting a promotion as well, so we were able to go to that as well. But while we were there, Buddy wanted to drive around and see if he could find the White House. And for some reason, he decided, because he had gone around a couple times and he couldn't see the front of the White House, he pulled over to just stop for a minute. And I said, "Don't stop here, buddy." And he looked at me and he said, "You remember what you said, buddy? What'd you say?" Shh. He did. He said, "Shh," to me. And right when he said, "Shh," to me, is when it started. Sirens, the lights from the police car. I think there were some valet guys in front of us. And I remember them looking at us kind of crazy too. Like, what are you doing? But the police car stopped us. They go over to Buddy's side of the car, and Buddy said, "I'm sorry, sir, I was just looking for the White House." He said, "You found the White House, and you found the Secret Service." And Buddy said, "Oh, let me let you know that I have a gun in the car." He had a permit, a carry permit, and he had a gun in the car. And next thing you know, the Secret Service is opening the car door for him and saying, "Get out." And they're having him face the car, put his hands out on the car. They put the handcuffs on his arms, and they had him handcuffed in the back. Next thing I know, another Secret Service agent is opening my door. And he said, "Ma'am, get out of the car." And I said, "I don't have shoes on. Do you want me to get out barefooted, or do you want me to put shoes on?" He said, "You can put your shoes on." So I am now out with several Secret Service surrounding me. Buddy is now in the back of the Secret Service car. They are starting to look all through our car. We had to give them permission, which we did. They called the bomb squad to come look at our car. They had yellow tape all around our car in the area that we were around. It was light when we first got stopped outside, and by the time it was over, it was dark outside. So I had been standing there, and he had been in handcuffs in the back of the Secret Service car for hours. I know all the little tour guide people were going around in their double bus looking at us like we were part of the scenery. What's going on? We're stopping these people right out in front of the White House. Well, Buddy didn't know, and neither did I, that you are not allowed to have a gun in Washington, D.C. I don't care if you have a concealed carry permit, you're still not allowed to have one in Washington, D.C. So they searched the car, and they also found what was a flashlight, but it looked like one of those like billy sticks, And so the Secret Service guy came up to me. He says, "What is this?" And I said, "It's a flashlight." He says, "Oh my gosh, thank goodness." Because if he had had two things, they had our gun, and now they had that flashlight. If it had been a billy stick, that would have been so much worse for Buddy. And I was just standing there, and another Secret Service agent came up to the one that was watching me, and she's like, she was a woman, but she was the boss over the guy that got me out of the car. And she said, "Did you pat her down?" He said, "Mm-mm." And she said, "Why not?" And he said, "She's fine." She said, "You pat her down." So he patted me down to make sure I had no weapons. I did not. We're still out there waiting. And I said to the guy that was watching me, he wasn't talking to me, he wasn't saying anything, he was very quiet. And I said, "Are they going to take him to jail?" And he just went. And I thought, oh my God. So later on, 2 White House security came, and they told me, they said, "We're on site today, so we heard this was happening, so we're coming down here and seeing what's happening. Tell me, what's your social security number?" And I'm like, I just gave them my social security number. They said, "Does your husband have any mental issues?" I wanted to say yes. I was so mad at Buddy. I wanted to say, "Yes, there is." But they said, "Why are you here?" I told them about our friend's son getting a promotion at his base, and that we had been there for that. Now we were just looking for the White House, and he just pulled over, and that's why we're here. Finally, they finished searching our car, and the Secret Service let me tell Buddy goodbye. So I hugged him bye. Really wanted to pop him. I hugged him bye, and they took him to jail. And I said, "What does that mean? What does it mean?" And they said, "Well, his arraignment will be tomorrow." I didn't even know what an arraignment meant. That's how green I am as far as crime is concerned. And so they let me have my car back, and I drove back to the hotel, which was difficult. They have a lot of roundabouts in Washington, D.C. We have a lot now where we live, but we didn't at the time. So learning how to do that, plus the WeatherTech mats I had, the Secret Service put the mats back on top of my accelerator and my brake. And so I didn't realize that until I was driving, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time. And that was scary, just trying to get back to the hotel. Not only that, you got Buddy, who is now in jail. He's in jail. I think they gave him a bologna sandwich. Did they give you a bologna sandwich to eat? They gave him a bologna sandwich and plain, no mayonnaise. No mayonnaise. He loves mayonnaise on sandwiches. So they took the strings out of his shoes, so as if he wished to do harm to himself, he wouldn't have that. They took his belt. They gave him a cot, and I think he got to share a jail cell with somebody else. And I went back to the hotel, and I scheduled I think it was called the Yellow Cab Company, which were really red cabs, to pick me up the next morning. I think they had told me that I needed to be there in the morning to find out when his arraignment would be. So I got there that morning. But even then, as soon as I got to my hotel, I called my friend Trudy, who was there visiting her son, who was, like I said, got a promotion. And I was so upset by the time I got back to the hotel room. I could not talk to her. I called her and I said, "Trudy," and she said, "What up?" And I'm like, and I couldn't talk. I was just that emotional. And she said, "Oh my God, what's wrong? Are you and Buddy fighting? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Judy." And she's like, "I'm sorry. You just get it together. I'll give you a minute. Just talk when you can." And then I said, "Buddy's in jail." She met me the next morning at the courthouse, and we were there for Buddy's arraignment. And that means what he's charged for. And so he walked out shackled, his hands shackled in front, his feet shackled, and I think they did drop the charges to a lesser charge, but we still had to go back like in a couple of months for our court date for what happened. And when we went back for the court date 2 months later, they dropped it. So he didn't even have to go to court. So that was horrifying. I mean, horrifying. And so here we are back. That was my first time in Washington, D.C. This is our second time. No, this is our third time because we had to go back for the court date. So we went for the first time to just see it and have a good time and him get arrested. Went back for the court date that got dropped. And now this is the third time for the hockey team. I told Buddy he better not bring a gun. Right? And I hope, like my friend said, stay in your lane. Stay in your own lane. So I'm hoping that it's a great trip. We enjoy the games and the boys have an awesome time, and we don't have to deal with any of that craziness. So why I didn't want to go to Washington is from what happened before. On a side note, when we were stopped in Washington, D.C., there were no less than 20 Secret Service, police, and White House security surrounding us. That's how crazy it was. Too bad I didn't video stuff then.